Hello guys, Wahoo here, back with another video. This time around, well, I am not going to explain the Shadow Hunter, what Andrew is going to do. So there was a live stream yesterday. I sort of actually decided that I didn't want to cover, the rework more than I have done, because I am going to next week work on a tier list, because a lot of stuff I've been working around. So I'm doing a completely new tier list. So that's coming out next week, so keep your eye out for that one. But I feel like Andrew on the live stream, the dev live stream, talked about it so well and explained it so well. So I thought that was a great idea to just sort of let him explain it. Also, a shout out to Andrew and to Adam. Adam, of course, doing the events, and Andrew doing the dev stuff. I guess the more reworks and stuff like that. He did say that there was gonna be 2 reworks this year, so I think the roadmap looks like where we get a smaller quality of life update before summer, and then summer we're gonna get the big update. Like last year we got the Bart. I'm not saying we're gonna get a new class, but I think we're gonna get something big summer-wise, and then small update. That's sort of how the roadmap always works. It's like it's a medium update start of the year, the rework and the class balances and stuff like that, and then a quality of life update is the next one with maybe some additions. Maybe we'll see the ring thing where we can put pearls on it finally. Maybe that's going to be something they're going to take to heart. And then we of course gonna get like the biggest update probably is gonna be the summer one. Usually that, or I think that's what it's going to be. They say they have big stuff planned for the future, but we don't know exactly what. But that's just my predictions. But as of I think the dev team looks right now, I think that you have Adam doing maybe only the events. Well, maybe he's helping Andrew with some stuff, and then but. We do get an event every single month, so that's probably a lot of work for just one person. So I think the dev team looks like is maybe it's like 4 or 5 people, with 2 of them being on the art team, because they do say the art team. And I know one person could be a team, but I'm still there's no I in team, right? No, but team, I think there's just like maybe a couple of people, or maybe these people also work on different other games for Gamigo, and then they just have all these assignments, and then there's just like a bigger art team that just don't do everything for them. Maybe that's the case, but I don't know. But to me at least, I feel like, because Andrew also sort of says like, I wanted to do this, or we wanted, he sort of feels like he's sort of not alone, but like the team being very small, right? And that's also very cool. But I wanted to know, because it just makes it more better perspective on how Trove is developed, right? Like like a small team, small updates, right? And everybody wants big updates, but big updates also cost money, and especially also when you have updates that are going out of the consoles. Because that's a different company you're working on, as they also talked about in live stream. I will link the whole live stream down below, and after this, of course, we're gonna have Andrew talk about just the Shadow Hunter. But if you want to know everything, I will link, of course, it to the VOD down in the description. Of course, you can check that one out. But he does say he looked at the video, so maybe he's looking at this. So hi, Andrew. I wanted to when Moby was the community manager, I asked him if he wanted some of the dev to come talk to me, do some kind of just a feel of how the game, or what they wanted to bring the game, and like not specific things, but just sort of where their thoughts were, and over time how things were gonna play out in a way, just hints in there. I actually tried to well, I did ask Kensel was the one who was there, so she picked up my question. I asked Andrew what class he was playing right now, because he played when the Lunar Lancer rework came out. By the way, he's worked on the Shadow Hunter and the Lunar reworks. These are the only reworks I think he's been working on, because these reworks he's done is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, they're better than any of the reworks. And he said he wanted to rework all the classes sort of in more of a way, so just so they don't get too stale. I know some classes don't need it, but it's great to have reworked them maybe I feel like he still captured, the essence of the Lunar Lancer and the Shadow Hunter. So I'm really confident that even though he's gonna rework maybe the Draculite, for example, that don't need a rework, is gonna make it still more interesting, and not gonna lose its essence, and still gonna be just like we still love the class and stuff like that, all the other ones as well. But he did say there was going to be two, so I'm thinking like one after. It's not going to be the summer update. It's going to be one in the late fall or something like that, or early fall maybe. We're going to see the second rework of some of the other classes. But he didn't say, I couldn't get him to say, like I said, Kensel asked the question and he said he didn't want to say which class he's playing on. So he's playing on a secret account on live servers, that is. He is playing on live servers, but he's not giving out his name so people can't see what class he's running around playing on. So he did that for for the Lunar Lancer, and then he said the same thing for the Shadow Hunter. So that's why I asked the tricky question, not which rework is coming next, but just what class is he playing right now, because you want to get a real feel for the class. He hasn't played Trove his whole life thing. He's just when he probably he got hired to doing the or maybe when Gamigo took over, he started playing the game, right? Or when he got hired for doing this. So, but I really love the reworks. They're absolutely amazing, and he just talks about them, and there's such a bigger picture to be seen when he talks all about it. So I don't want to talk anymore. I just wanted to put my thing or my thoughts out there. So the rest of the video is just going to be him and ending with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out again the full live stream, and also follow me and Gamigo on Twitch and stuff like that, because you can come ask me questions, but you can also see these amazing. I love the devs ones. Adam and, like I said, Andrew are just so phenomenal, and Kenzil is just great host as well. So anyways, great. Here I'm just blabbering on, but here is Andrew with the Shadowhunter rework.
So yeah, this whole update ended up being massive. It was huge. We had the Shadowhunter revamp, and then we also took some time to rebalance a little bit in Trove and kind of change up the general meta of the game. So the main spotlight was definitely the Shadowhunter, but everything got a little touch. We wanted to kind of like bring up balance, the tweak around what was going on with the characters, and experiment a little bit here and there. So yeah, so the Shadowhunter revamp. So the goal going into the Shadowhunter revamp was always to keep it kind of similar to how it played before, but kind of like revitalize parts of it that were not necessarily functioning as well. We mainly did this with the idea of like, we shouldn't change the basic attack around too much. That is a key pillar of how this character functions. It's a single attacker mostly, focusing on just one target at a time necessarily. But also we wanted it to kind of be a little more powerful, and bring it up because it is a revamp. We want the revamp to be spotlighted with being a little more powerful, but then give it a little bit more utility with some of its abilities. Kind of like the key complaints we saw with the Shadowhunter were, the charge shot not being as fun, or the ult was super cool, but it kind of like, it was a fire forget ability that wasn't like, didn't feel like a cornerstone piece. It wasn't like, didn't have a huge impact kind of ultimate should usually have to the character. So with that in mind, we kind of like just tooled around a little bit with how it played. So now the way a lot of things work are, basically your passive is Dark Whisper still. It applies your Shadow Mark more often. Applies them to nearby targets. You gain a small damage buff while it's active on a target. So you can see here, I'm playing right now. It is periodically changing to different characters around you. It'll track out a specific enemy nearby. It'll make them highlighted so you can see them through terrain still. And then it gives you kind of like that bonus damage. You see now it's highlighted this target over here. So it's constantly moving around to different characters, which is how it worked before, but now it's a little more efficient with how it does it, how we've set it up. Originally, when you had your class gem and you dealt damage to a target that was shadow marked, it would actually consume the mark, removing it, and then do a small AoE. We've reduced the damage on this AoE now, so that it isn't as heavy a hitter, but it doesn't consume the shadow mark anymore. It just activates. So while you're attacking targets that are shadow marked, you'll be, having this little AoE go off around them. It deals, a small amount of damage, but it is kind of like constant rather than before when it was like you'd have to wait for your mark to get reapplied. Additionally, when this ability, this damage proc or activation happens on shadow mark targets, you will gain Seekers. Seekers are a new fuel type coming to the class that are evolved around the M2 ability, the right click. Essentially, the way these work are for every damage tick that happens on that target, that damage tick is on a cooldown, like to make it balanced. Specifically around that explosion, it then gives you one of these Seeker fuels. You'll see it flying at the character when I'm damaging targets here. They're these nice little. I love these little orbs. They run off similar tech to the blooms from the Pirate Captain. It was really fun to play around with. They will increase the amount of Seekers you have. You can see above my head, that's the total amount of Seekers I have currently, which is 5. And when I hit right mouse click, it'll fire off these seeking arrows that will go out after the nearest target and deal massive damage. Additionally, so basically, yeah, you can see as I'm I need to remark them. Let's go. This one's marked over here. As I'm dealing damage to a target, you can see that your icon is changing as it's increasing in the amount you have. You can always fire off however many you have. They deal increased damage the more stacks of that fuel you have. Starting with the lowest amount of damage at 1, but each one does increase damage, meaning the most effective way to deal damage is to get to your max stacks and then fire them all off. So this is kind of just like a neat little thing we played around with. The idea being we wanted this ability to be something that doesn't take away from your basic attack, but you could fire it while you're basic attacking to stay hooked onto your target. Additionally, the other changes are we reworked the mine slightly differently. It has a larger AoE radius now, so you can hit targets. It does a little more increased damage, but the main focus was it had a larger radius. It also applies your shadow mark, so you can try to keep your shadow mark constantly on targets. Whereas before it was just random or relied on your alt. Now it's specifically on this ability, so it just happens whenever you throw it at a target. And then that's how you would so the rotation would be throw down your mine, you then do basic attacks to get your Seekers, and then you fire them all off to do increased damage. And so that was just a small kind of easy tweak that we did to the mine to kind of make it more of a utility. It still does the same stun as before, but it's much more useful in its range, the amount of damage it does, and the amount of just having marked targets really helps out a lot. Additionally, we implemented a new ultimate. This is your sacred arrow. So the way this ability works is it fires off a arrow as long as you hold down the 2 button to keep firing. It is affected by attack speed rate and whatnot. So you can fire more off if you have a higher attack speed. And it constantly drains energy while it's active. So you can essentially go into a fight. You can pop some energy regen items to kind of get your energy regen up max and fire off a ton of these. But here, I'll demo it right now. So it fires off these arrows of light. They deal large kind of like damage when they initially hit, and then they apply a dot that stacks over time. So damage over time effect that will stack multiple times. So players on PTS were doing tons of damage with this thing by just getting it to fire off constantly and applying damage over time effects. So we had to balance it actually a lot on PTS because it came after the first few balance patches a bit too strong. So, but it is a fine addition to the class now. Some other small changes were the basic attacks now for the gem can fire through walls. So if you have a target that is shadow marked, you can see it through a wall. So if you're like dungeoning, if you're out in the dungeon, you can see a target, you can fire at it essentially through the wall, and being a little weird because we're in a club world right now. And then also the regular basic attack, kind of for like lower end players, but also players who want to. The goal was like maybe in delves it'd be more useful if the regular basic attack without the gem. Here,
I'm using it right now too. I gotta say, I'm really a big fan of it.
don't have any generators. Yeah, so Blizzard's firing off this regular basic attack, and it is essentially it pierces targets and goes through walls. The balance being that like if we, it's like if you choose to go with your class gem, then you get the very fast stream of basic attacks that do increase damage to single targets. But this is more of an AoE target kind of effect that would be potentially useful for lower end players. So kind of like be a better ability for when they're questing through content. And those are like the main changes we went through with the class. We wanted to keep the same traditional play style where it was like, hey, I deal single target damage mostly. I'm constantly firing I'm like a constantly firing class. I'm less a focus on my abilities necessarily. But people have found ways around being able to use the ult a lot. If you have really good cooldown reduction, you can make a build around that, or you can just stick to your basic attacks. But it's just kind of make it all a little bit more useful, and then buff up the damage a bit. So on PTS, we had tons of great feedback from y'all. It was really a fun time to balance and change things on the fly. This PTS period, I was loving it. I was constantly reading all your feedback. So if you saw things get slightly adjusted based off of what you said or did, like I was like looking on Discord, I was looking on YouTube, kind of seeing what everyone was saying about the class to kind of really tweak the damage as much as possible. Like it's at a really good spot right now. It is doing very good damage overall, and kind of like we wanted to buff it up so that it was more useful. And I think we're going to continue to do kind of like these like modifications to classes as time progresses. We'll be balancing and like, changing classes up potentially to make them more useful.